Well, good morning. Welcome to the Morning Report. My name is Willie Lawson, and today we're going to talk again about Iran, but not the way you think. Not just centrifuges, not just uranium, not just geopolitics. No. Today we're going to talk about something far more important. The people who tell you what to think about all of it. Because over the last few days, headlines have started making the rounds. That Iran has enough uranium for 10 nuclear weapons. 10. And suddenly there's urgency. Suddenly there's an alarm. Suddenly there's breathless coverage. Now, my question is, where has this urgency been? Because the truth, and here's where we start. That information, that idea that Iran has enough enriched uranium for multiple nuclear weapons, not new. Not this week, not this month, not this year. Experts, inspector, analysts, people who track all this stuff have been talking about Iran's uranium stockpiles for years. Years. Then what, so if the facts didn't suddenly change, then what did? Well, the answer is simple. The tone changed, the framing changed, the narrative changed. And when the narrative changes, but the underlying facts don't, then you're no longer being informed, you are being guided. Okay, then, all right, are you fine? Let's slow down and walk through all this pretty carefully because this really matters. There are three different realities that often get mashed together in media coverage. First, capability. Second, intent. And thirdly, execution. And those are not the same thing, not even close. Iran having enriched uranium at 60% purity, well, that's definitely capability. Iran's deciding to weaponize it, well, that's intent. Iran actually building, assembling, and deploying a nuclear weapon, that will be execution. Three different, completely different stages, right? Three completely different thresholds. And for years, listen to me now, for years, the legacy media made sure to emphasize those differences. As a matter of fact, they insisted on it. They corrected people on it. They pushed back on anyone who blurred those lines. Now, you've heard the language before. Iran is years away. There doesn't seem to be any evidence of weaponization. Uh, we shouldn't jump to conclusions, right? We've heard diplomacy is working. That was the tone. It was measured, it was cautious, it was restrained. And if anyone came along and said, hey, Iran may be ready, already be close to having a bomb, they were labeled as an alarmist, fear mongering, even reckless. Now, fast forward to today. We're in the same country. We're talking about the same country. We're talking about the same program, similar intelligence base, but suddenly the language is different. Now it's Iran has enough for 10 nuclear weapons. Breakout time is weeks. They're a serious global threat. Did you hear the shift? Because it's not subtle, not technical, it's emotional, it's psychological, and most importantly, it's intentional. Now, I want to be super duper clear because precision matters right here what I'm talking about. Iran producing nuclear capability is a serious issue. Full stop. This is not a dismissal of the threat. This is not being naive. This is not pretending everything is fine. But seriousness demands something from everybody. It demands clarity, it demands consistency, and it demands, at the very least, honesty. And what we're seeing right now is not consistency. Because the key distinction, that one that used to be in front and center, is quietly disappearing. Let me say this plainly. Having enough enriched uranium is not the same as having a nuclear weapon. To go from one to another requires further enrichment from 60% up to about 90%. Weaponization, designing an actual explosive device, and miniaturization so it can be delivered. And then integration onto a missile or delivery system. And that's not nothing. That's not trivial. That's not automatic. And the same outlets that used to explain that in detail are now skipping past it. So now we have to ask the questions that actually matters. Why? Why the shift? Why now? Why this tone? And here's what we need to be disciplined, not emotional, not conspiratorial, not sloppy, disciplined. Because there are logical explanations. First, political alignments and policy priorities. When diplomacy was the primary objective, the threat was framed as manageable. When negotiations, were the goal, the language was softened. When pressure became the strategy, or when conflict enters the picture, the tone always hardens. The urgency rises. The danger is emphasized. And that's not random. That's alignment. Second, narrative simplification. Let's be honest. 60% enriched uranium with a potential breakout capability under certain conditions does not move people. It doesn't spread. That doesn't go viral. But 10 nuclear bombs, that moves. That sticks. That creates emotion. And in modern media, emotion drives engagement, not nuance. All right, third, and this one is important, retrospective justification. If you can convince the public that Iran is ready, is on the brink, then suddenly past warnings look justified. Past policies seem necessary. And current action, whatever it'll be, look urgent. It's inevitable. And that's a very, very powerful tool. Now, let's step back for just a second. Okay. Because this isn't just about Iran, it's about a pattern where the facts are the same. They're all framed differently, depending on the moment, depending on the agenda, depending on the outcome that needs to be supported. And when that happens, the American people are not being equipped. They're being steered. And here's the danger of it. When nuance disappears, understanding disappears with it. Nothing gets examined. When everything is framed as imminent, we stop asking basic questions like, what has actually changed? What hasn't? That's when what is being emphasized, we have to see that. But more importantly, we have to see what's being left out. Because again, and I want you to hear this clearly, the idea that Iran has enough enriched uranium for multiple weapons has been known. It's been discussed, analyzed for years. So if it's suddenly being presented as breaking news, that tells you something, not just about Iran, but about the people delivering the message. Now, excuse me. Now, some people will say, well, maybe the threat has just gotten worse. Well, and that's a fair question. Then explain it. Show the change. Walk your audience through it. Don't just change the tone and expect people not to notice. Because when tone changes without explanation, again, the trust erodes. And trust is already fragile. We've seen it across institution, across media, and across government. People are people paying attention now in a way they didn't before. And they're comparing and they're remembering. They're noticing inconsistencies. And when they see narrative whiplash, they don't lean in, they pull back. So, what's the takeaway this morning? It's not that Iran isn't a concern, it is. It's not that nuclear capability isn't dangerous, because it is. The takeaway is this: the way information is presented matters just as much as the information itself. Because framing shapes perception, perception shapes opinion, and opinion shapes policy. And if we don't hold these people who shape the framing accountable, then we lose some critical. We lose the ability to think clearly, independently, and honestly. So the next time you hear 10 nuclear weapons, don't just react. Ask this: is this new? Or is that newly emphasized? Is that a change in narrative? Because those are not the same thing. And that is the story. Until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We'll see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.